We continue the journey in 2008. Now, I say that loosely because the game on your right had been already around for a long time. It was £25 jackpot initial release and made the £35 upgrade, and that's what you see in front of you. A game which is loved by a lot of people called Deal or No Deal What's in Your Box, or also known as Win Stopper or just Stopper as short, purely because of the second feature here, which we'll come to in a minute. The one on your left, Deal or No Deal It's Your Show, was a later release at 35 and then actually was upgraded to 70. And the reason why this has been included in this video was because it looks very similar to this What's in Your Box. The high-lows, the features and cash, obviously they're not in a big straight line, but they're there, and a Deal or No Deal in the centre. It had differences, but when it was initially released, people got quite excited. I can imagine that people in the chat, in the comments, will say and agree with me, because I did. I thought to myself, well, there must be ways of manipulating jackpots on this game, because this one here, Deal or No Deal What's in Your Box, was an absolute legend for that sort of thing. But it turns out that the one on the left weren't that great. I certainly didn't know any playing methods or empties on this. I'm sure there might well have been something, but if you could, share it, that'd be amazing. For me, I never ever really touched this game on the left. Played it a few times, got lucky a few times, but other than that, didn't really touch it. But the one on the right, you see, was a brilliant, fantastic game. The reason for that was, for a multiple number of reasons actually, was there was different programs. So the initial program was a full empty. You could take every pound coin out of this game legally through the feature Win Stopper. Basically, that was a free win, and that was just a skill feature on this dial here. Essentially, these white little telephone segments would spin, and you have to hit them on the win one, which is at the bottom right hand corner. And if you successfully did that, it would boost the cash up, and it would get faster and faster. But the win was a free win, so it wouldn't see it. So whatever it paid off that, it would give, and you could hit that skill. If you had it in your locker and you could do it, you could hit that skill. And basically, it was a lovely game. People absolutely adored it. For me, I actually never really played too many of these on Program 1. I don't know why. I remember knowing the trick. I remember knowing where there was some. I think I was just put off by the fact that I'm dog shit at skill. And I'll be honest with you, I can't actually remember why I never did any. A little bit of a regret for me. But, you live on. I think I was playing other stuff at the time. But we're talking years and years ago, so my memory can barely remember what I did last week, let alone 16 years ago, or 15 years ago, whatever it is. But yeah, a great game. And the reason why I say it's a great game, because shortly after they chipped it, there was ways of ripping jackpots out of it. And you can manipulate the number reels in such a way that any person, any bystander that was watching would be gobsmacked. They would literally be like, wow. Because this machine, depending on what program it was, would survive highs and lowers of numbers that you would never dream of hitting. So, for example, there was fast and slow spinners, and you could go higher than 7s and higher than 11s and lower than 2s and lower than 5s and lower than 7s. It was a crazy little game, and it would survive. I mean, you could go lower than a 5 in the middle here if you wanted to in different scenarios, and it would survive. And if it was a slow spinner and you went lower than like a 2, the machine would freeze, and it would freeze for 10 seconds and do nothing. It's like the machine's like, hang on a minute, this guy's just hit lower than the 2. I'm going to give him that, but I need to think about this first. And it just thinks for 10 seconds and then just drops it in. I'll show you all this when I load the game up and play it. It was a lovely little game. It was all about getting skill bonuses and getting extra lives, and manipulating the numbers to try and get mega streak symbols, sometimes building the cash up, sometimes trapping it for 3 red phones. It all depended on the position of the game and how it was playing and how happy it was. But you had to know your reels, and you had to know where to step and where to kill your extra life off and things like that. It was a very complex game, and excuse me if I play it badly, because I'm not the best thing since sliced bread on this game. But I certainly did quite a lot of these on the rechip, just ripping them for jackpot. These blue bars, I might add, This here is a reset reel. So when you turn the machine on and off, this is what you would expect. The 3 blue bars with a 174. But if you was to get these 3 blue bars, that's like a skill stop. But it can go quite quick sometimes, but a lot of the time it's quite slow. And it makes this like strange noise. But it could easily get up, you know, 35, 15 and 20. I think when you got these blue bars, it all depended on what stake you were on. Because this game here, you could play on 10p. One line is 10p, and then you could play it on the middle stake, which was like 30p, and then 50p as well. Now, the stakes were really important, and the reason for that is because you could get this dial. That was another name as well, dials. People used to call them dials. The third reel here, if that dropped in, again, depending on what stake you were, would give you a certain amount of segments, and it would spin, randomly spin. If it was on 50p, it would just be full up, and that means you've won anyway. But if it was on 30p, half of them, and if it was 10p, I think you only had 3. But it would spin, and if it landed on the win, it would give you a feature board entry with deal or no deal active. That was really important because dials, this dial here, was separate to a normal win, which meant that you could take multiple jackpots at this game. And this was all later on when they chipped them. And then going forward from that, because there's still a few of these about, or there was last time I was in like places like Minehead, there were some really dirty, horrible programs. And that one in Minehead was a dirty one. You couldn't do anything with the numbers; it would just block. And yeah, there was ways that you could still sort of manipulate it slightly, but you couldn't ever like be going higher than 11s, lower than 2s. It just killed you basically. And that was the latest chip that Bellfruit What's in Your Box, by Deal or No Deal, released. Dirty program, but a great little game. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to display this game as a separate clip, again, because I can't turn the noise down. And I need to ask some of the gurus over at the emulators how I can actually reduce the volume in the game. Because I'm terrible with computers, and if I reduce the volume on my on my computer, it reduces the audio that I'm speaking. There is ways in certain games that you can go up to like the refill, like simulating putting a refill key in and then doing it through the LCD. But some games don't allow it, so yeah, I do need to ask that. But I will play it as a separate clip, just purely because I can reduce the volume on that particular clip and then be able to talk over it. But what you'll be seeing is me just playing it. I'm going to just play max stake. In fact, I'm going to play 10p first, just so you hopefully we get a few dials, and then I'll play it up in a higher stake. And I'll just show you how these numbers can go. You know, you can gamble these numbers on 11s and 2s and try and get skill bonuses for extra life and all the rest of it. And you'll be able to see it. So I'll bring you back.
I think you are going to go away with a lot of money today.
So I wanted to show you this, or at least try and show you this, because this was a really quick, simple, easy way of getting a jackpot when the dial dropped in. And the most important factor about this thing was not because it opened up deal or no deal, was because it boosted the streak symbols. Now, without it doing that, this would be a little bit more difficult. But the dial itself starts with a minimum of one of each streak symbol. And the one that we care about is the mega streak. So it's guaranteed to start with at least one of each. And it will start with only one mega streak, by the way. Sometimes it will start with 2 super streaks or something. But we have one mega streak from the off. And that was really, really important, because the way that you could tackle these next few steps of the board, depending on what number setup the board feature began with, which you'll see in a minute, really determined how easy and quick it could be. Now, I just mentioned about board setups and number setups, and that is because this feature board can start with lots of different variations of numbers. It can start with a 174, which is not a very good setup in this case. But it can start with a 12 on the left with an 8 on the right. That's pretty good. A 12 on the right, pretty good. A 1 in the middle puts a 7 on the left. And all those sort of things enabled you to try and tackle this for the lower scenario. So what you really wanted to do was accumulate one lower symbol here by going lower than either a number on the left or right reel. So that's why you wanted that 8. Go lower than that 8, or lower than that 12, or lower than that 7. And then really what you wanted to do, ideally, is get a 7 or 6 in the middle. That would be beautiful. But any numbers around higher than that, you had a chance. So if it went to an 11, if it went to a 12, it went to a 10. Any of those numbers are good. A 5 and a 4 could be even better, because they can survive lower as well. 4, I say openly, because 4 I think is a dodgy number. But it can survive it easily and go to a 3. So these are the sort of things that this machine can crazily do, and hopefully this will show it. So you'll see me when I play this that I'm going to hopefully get a decent setup, go lower than the left number or the right number to try and get that number in the middle. And what you wanted to do was go lower that middle number to try and get a 3. Now that is because gambling this middle number set reel, the white number reel, moves you around the centre board. And really, like, going lower than a number to a 3 will move you 3 steps to a multi-add. Now that's really important, because at this point you'll have 2 lowers, because you've previously gone lower than one number. Then your second gamble lower than that number that you tried to get in the middle for a 3. And that 3 will land on multi-add, boost an extra mega streak symbol. And the most important thing is that because you've got a 3 in the middle, it will drop a 2 on the left hand side. And we all know from there that we can go lower than that 2 to get a skill bonus to get the last mega streak symbol. So that's really nice. Lower this reel, lower this reel, lower this reel. That's the ideal situation or scenario. Like I said, it can throw different number setups, so you can still go lower than the 7 on the left, for example. To then get another decent number in the middle to go lower than that to back to the 2. You'll see what I mean in a second. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to mute the mic, get this feature board, make sure it's held, and hopefully show you the jackpot through the 3 lower trap method. Or just a normal stopper trap method.
I think you are going to go away with a lot of money today.
Now, unfortunately, it didn't drop that 3 into the multi-ad, but you can see that, you know, certain number gambles here. Still get it in the end if you can get a couple of lucky gambles in certain scenarios or certain numbers come in. But maintaining that extra life and that skill bonus is the way forward. Now, we've only really talked about lower traps, but there's plenty of ways to do it higher as well. You can go higher than 11s, higher than 10s in certain situations, and higher than 7s. So there's plenty of ways this game could be manipulated. Now, before I end the video, like, I openly admit I'm not the best thing since sliced bread on this game. I used to do quite well out of them, but there's certainly people out there that were 10 times better than me on this particular game, and made a lot of money from that empty. And yeah, it's the way that things go. I'm sure there's stuff that other people have been on prior to other people. You know how it is. And Vicky Verka in terms of me being on stuff before others. So yeah, I'll end it there. A great little game. I've not really talked too much about the story in this one, just more about the game. But these were everywhere. They were all across the country, and in a lot of big chain food pubs. And they stayed around for a while. They disappeared as 35s turned into the 70s, in which a few episodes that will happen, because 2008 is slowly coming to an end. But they were a great game, and a great little skill or knowledgeable game for people to make some decent money out of. So I could keep playing this, and I keep showing you different scenarios. There's multiple different ways it could occur, and you can get jackpot. But I think that's enough. I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Ta-da.